Do you find it difficult to talk about yourself in interviews? Are you uncomfortable about telling everybody how good you are, or even worried about coming across as arrogant? Well, I know how you feel. Today I'm going to tell you how to sell yourself in an interview without sounding or coming across like a dick. Hello and welcome. My name is Brendan. I'm a recovering accountant based here in London, and I help millennials navigate busy lives and make sure that work doesn't suck. Interviews are nervous affairs. We don't like them because we're put on the spot, and sometimes we get asked difficult questions and we can bring ourselves up in nerves, and it generally just makes people feel uncomfortable. We want to show off our accomplishments, but we might not be great at selling ourselves or even telling others how good we are. Sadly, interviews are an opportunity to tell others how good you are, what your accomplishments are, and ultimately why this company should employ you, but it can be a really daunting experience, especially if you are not comfortable in selling yourself and you're worried about coming across a bit arrogant, a bit pompous, or in actual fact, you just don't like doing it. You're just not very comfortable. I know how you feel because it is a very un-British trait to tell everybody how good you are. But fortunately, I'm here to tell you that there is a way to go, because today I'm going to give you my 5 tips on how to sell yourself in an interview without sounding or coming across like a dick. So with that, let's dive straight in. Number 1, share a sense of wonder and gratitude in your stories. This is your chance to spread some awe in a very personable way. Telling a story is a much more relaxed way of actually showing how good you can be. The reason why I say share a sense of wonder and be grateful in your stories is because it is something that I've learned the hard way in my career to date. My experience in sharing awe and spreading gratitude around my stories is when I get asked about my Ironman. It was a very long day out. I couldn't have done it on my own, and that's why I always tell the story with gratitude in that people helped me along the way, but also I don't want to brag about it because it is not something that I did for everybody else. So with that, just bear in mind that if you can share some awe and get people inspired around what you do, but be grateful in your experiences, that is one way to tell a good story about yourself without coming across as arrogant. Number 2 is all about being brief. A lady called Peggy Klaus termed the phrase brag bites. Now those are short sound bites that you can effectively release and deliver at a moment's notice without sounding conceited, disingenuous, or bragging. Kind of like an elevator pitch. It makes the point exactly as you want, and you can deliver it at a moment's notice. Could be something along the lines of, I was fortunate enough to lead a team of very talented individuals, and I couldn't have achieved this success without their support and input. Something along those lines. You don't want to sit there and say, I did this, I did that, I was so great at this, it was only me that could have done it, etc., etc., which may be true, and if that's your style, crack on, but I think it makes you sound a bit like a dick. So with that, keep the sound bites brief and know what you're going to say. Now number 3 ties in quite nicely with that because it is all about avoiding the humble brag. Social media has accentuated this experience more and more because people often put up on Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, oh, I'm so fortunate to have done this, or oh, I'm living my best life, while showing a picture of a Lamborghini or a private jet without really trying to brag. But that's ultimately what they're doing. If you do it in an interview, it just makes you sound really silly, in my opinion. I would much rather be known for being humble rather than sitting there telling you actually how good I am in a very arrogant or sort of humble brag kind of way. And I just don't think it resonates very well with the person that you'll be interviewing with. It's okay to share your achievements. Just be honest and open when doing so. So please avoid the humble brag. Now number 4 is use humour. Humour is a great way to put others at ease and help yourself sell yourself without sounding arrogant. If you can add a little bit of humour into your stories, it goes a long, long way, and also puts yourself in a more relaxed state. One that I've often used is as I crossed the finish line when I did my full Ironman, my mother remarked how it had been such a long day out supporting, sat in the sun and drinking Prosecco, at which point I raised an eyebrow and was like, that's not a long day out compared to what I've just done. So it is a very easy way of just putting others at ease, and if you're not comfortable with saying what you've done or talking about your achievements, just bring in a little bit of humour. And number 5, don't share all of your achievements in the interview. Now, I know that sounds a bit silly because we're talking about how do we talk about ourselves, but one of the points around an interview is to want people to hear more about you. You can't share all of your achievements in an hour or 2-hour interview. If you tried to, you would just literally talk monologue at somebody, and it would be a really embarrassing piece because you would very much be talking at somebody, not with somebody. Plus, why not leave people wanting to know a bit more about you? That's the part of the interview process that is often forgotten. Yes, you want to portray how good you are, but you also want the person opposite or the people opposite to want to know more about you and be intrigued with what you've done to date. So number 5 is around saying don't give away everything. Keep some of your achievements back. Obviously make sure you tell the people about your best ones or the ones that are most applicable for the job that you're going to, but please don't give everything away straight away. Now, before I wrap up the video, please do like the video and click subscribe. If you want to write a comment, I would love to hear what your tips are in terms of making sure that you can sell yourself in interviews without coming across like a dick. But before I leave you, please take note of this tip. I want you to practice, prepare, and record. The reason for saying that is if you're not comfortable around selling yourself or talking about yourself in an interview, you need to prepare what you're going to say. There's no point trying to come up with something on the fly only to feel like you are uncomfortable saying it, and then you come across an interview as a bit sort of uncertain, or you stumble across your words, and then you go into yourself and you get all flustered, and it generally doesn't end very well. So firstly, you need to prepare what you're going to say. Write it down. Write it down, scribble it out, write exactly the story or the points that you want to make around how bloody good you are. Then, I want you to practice it. I want you to practice telling a friend of yours, a colleague, a family member, whomever it may be, your stories. The points that you want to get across in your achievements. Now, most importantly, I also want you to record it. Why? Because when you see yourself played back on video, you realize how you come across, whether you've got some ers, ahs, ums, es, etc., whether you're concise with what you're saying, and fundamentally, it's great to see what the other person sees as you go through that interview process. The takeaways from this video are stories are a great way to showcase your achievements. So go for it. Use the 5 tips that I've talked through today, add some stories to that, give it some color. It will help portray your achievements and ultimately get you to where you want to be. Because remember, being too humble or too shy is ultimately going to cost you the job of your dreams. People won't give it to you if you're sat there without telling them how good you are. It can be difficult, it will be hard, it will be disconcerting, but you've got to practice it and you've got to get better at doing it. In much the same way that I wasn't great at public speaking to begin with, but I made myself stand on stage in front of 200, 300, 400 people and get better at it, doesn't mean that the heart is not going like the clappers or the legs are a little bit wobbly, but you need to do the parts that will help you get to where you want to be. And to be quite frank, it's going to be difficult to get the job of your dreams if you can't tell everybody how good you are in interviews. But that's it. That is all I want to talk about today. If you found this video useful, please do click here where I talk about the career advice for millennials. I think you'll find it incredibly useful. But with that, have a great day and I'll see you all very soon. Cheers.